Hi, my name is Ava Johnston. I'm a junior in high school, and for my topic, I chose going to college out of state. Practicality wise, I think this would not be the smartest choice just because it costs more for you to get an education that you could get similarly in state, which there's definitely other colleges in other parts of the United States or even in other countries that can offer a better education than some of those in state. However, they're often more expensive and they keep you farther from home than you would be if you stayed close to your family, stayed local, that sort of thing, such as A&M or UT, which are here in Texas. For example, if I went to college in New York City or New Jersey, such as NYU, that would be multiple hours away from my family, and that would be a huge cost difference between how it would be going to A&M or going to UT versus going to NYU, which is a significant cost, but also just the distance. It wouldn't be local, and it's definitely a culture shock, the difference in New York City versus College Station or Austin, Texas. And the impact on those around me it would likely be not great. Just whenever you're not close to family, a lot of times there's a disconnect. Whether it's noticeable or not, there's still gonna be a bit of a gap between you and those around you, just simply because it's not the same having a physical connection in person and having a conversation with them sitting face to face versus through the phone. And whenever you're not around them, it's a lot different because they don't know what's going on in your day-to-day lives, whereas if you're living in the same home or you're in the same town, it's easier to know what's going on with those around you. And it would just probably not be the greatest impact because it would just create sort of a rift between y'all. And I think even an impact financially that it could have, because in some families that are financially able to do this, the parents or the relatives will pay for the child's college. And I feel like this could even become an impact because of the burden that it puts on them financially if you go to a more expensive college, whereas it could be, however much the tuition is in Texas versus in New York City, it's significantly higher. From personal experience, I've seen people who have gotten a great education in other states with schools that are amazing. But also, there's plenty of schools where you're at, unless you're in a state where there's not a whole lot or a really small state. Even then, there's usually border states where you can go to good colleges there. But if you go across the country to go to school, sure, you're going to get a better education at some places, but other places you're just paying more for the same education, I feel. And this is just, I have an aunt who went to Hendrix College. It's in Arkansas, but it would be the same education you're getting here. It's just due to the fact that it was a private university in Arkansas, it was more expensive than it would have been in Texas, whereas, the price varies from state to state, but this would definitely be a difference. And this was just personal stuff that I've noticed in my family or just in people around me, their experiences I've seen from other perspectives. And personally, I just don't think this would be very logical because, why would you pay more to go out of state when there's plenty of times where you can stay in state and get equally as good of an education? So I personally just think that logically it wouldn't make sense to go out of state to another school that would be more expensive unless you're getting into an extremely prestigious school or an Ivy League college, which at that point it makes sense because you're getting a much more focused and specialized and prestigious education. But those are the only situations where I feel it would be logical to go to an out-of-state school, and I just don't think that it would make sense to go somewhere where you're getting the same education for a higher price due to where it's at, whenever you can get the same wherever you are locally. So that's just my take on going to out-of-state colleges. Is I personally think, sure, it's worth it if you're going to an extremely prestigious school or a private school that's a family thing where other relatives have gone there. That makes sense. But I just personally don't think it's wise to go out of state for college, and it doesn't make logical sense to me unless it's a very specific situation, such as the prestigious schools or an Ivy League college. And that's just my take on the different aspects of going to out-of-state colleges and what pros and cons might necessarily come with them. And I hope you appreciated this video, and enjoyed watching it. Thank you.